Pardon, Ousmane Dembele. I was wrong. I was wrong, and I admit it. I was wrong. Ousmane Dembele, future Ballon d'Or winner. Ousmane Dembele, future savior of France. The reincarnation of General de Gaulle. What am I saying? Before, I was not a believer. Now, I am a full-fledged Dembelist. Dembele is going to save us all. Hello, everyone. This is FBB, and as you've probably guessed, today's video is all about Ousmane Dembele. A few weeks ago, I made a video where I harshly criticized him, rightfully so, I might add. I've defended Ousmane Dembele for a long time, but at some point, even I reached my limit. I don't regret a single word of what I said in that video, but I must admit that I made a mistake. My assessment of him was too final, too conclusive. And now Dembele is proving me wrong. Just look at January 2025. He played 4.5 matches and scored 8 goals. That is absolutely insane. Dembele is a transformed player, and as much as I am critical of players when they deserve it, I am also fair enough to give credit where it's due. Right now, Dembele deserves all the praise in the world. So, this video will start with a deep dive into his performances. Of course, we're not only going to talk about Ousmane Dembele. Let's not get carried away. There was an actual match alongside his show. There were 2 teams, Paris Saint-Germain and Stuttgart, or should I say, Stuttgart. Apparently, I got absolutely roasted for my pronunciation. My apologies, I took Spanish as my second language, and I barely even speak a word of that anymore. So, expecting me to perfectly pronounce German words is probably giving me too much credit. That being said, we'll discuss PSG's overall performance in the match. And at the end of the video, I want to take a step back and evaluate what we can expect from PSG moving forward. But before anything else, let me reiterate an apology to Ousmane Dembele, if for no other reason than this. I based all my predictions on him for the games against Manchester City and Stuttgart. I called him the decisive player in both matches, and last night, he made me look like a genius. If you want proof, just go back and watch my pre-match video, it's pure gold. So, sit back, relax, and welcome to another episode of Football Bad Boys. Apologies, Ousmane Dembele. What a match. Alright, I'll stop now, this is getting excessive. But if we look at PSG's lineup, Ousmane Dembele was deployed centrally. I initially had doubts about whether he would stay on the right flank because his connection with Hakimi has always been one of the best dynamics in Paris, even when Dembele was underwhelming. However, he was eventually positioned in the center, and I believe there are 2 reasons for this decision. The first is possibly related to his physical condition. After all, playing on the wing demands a high level of activity, and we know that Dembele hasn't played a full string of matches recently due to illness. Even though he is our savior now, he is still human. The second reason is that, in reality, Dembele playing centrally is somewhat of a tactical trick. We all know that Luis Enrique is not a big fan of traditional number 9s. This is an understatement. Looking at Dembele's heat map, you quickly realize that he was only central on paper. In reality, he played much more in the half spaces than in the actual center. He was given significant freedom and, at times, even resembled a midfielder. This approach allowed Dembele to drift wide and combine effectively with Desire Doue and Barcola on either side. And as you probably noticed, this was a successful decision. Dembele delivered an outstanding performance. Let's quickly go through his 3 goals because, honestly, a hat-trick from Dembele deserves an in-depth review. His first goal was perhaps the least spectacular. It required composure because the play developed quickly. However, it was PSG's overall play that created the opportunity, with Barcola doing most of the work. Dembele, at least, managed to finish it properly, unlike Doue, who missed a similar chance in the 30th minute. The second goal, though, was where things got serious. It was an absolutely stunning finish from Dembele. Receiving the ball under pressure on the right, he unleashed a powerful shot from a difficult angle that rocketed into the far post side netting. A truly remarkable strike. And then came the third goal, which was the cherry on top. With a beautiful backheel flick to Hakimi, Dembele initiated a slick combination play in a tight space. Despite being surrounded by defenders, he instinctively made the right decision and delivered a sublime finish. So, what stands out from this match, and why do I genuinely feel the need to apologize to Ousmane Dembele even though he'll never see this video and probably wouldn't care even if he did? The simple fact is that he was incredibly clinical. Now, let's be real. I don't think this marks a permanent transformation. I don't believe Dembele will maintain an extraordinary level of finishing for the next 3 years. I don't think he's had some sudden awakening at 27 years old that will propel him into Ballon d'Or contention. However, I was certain that Dembele couldn't even maintain this kind of form for a few weeks. Yet, here we are. Dembele has been consistently performing at an elite level for several weeks now. He has been clinical in front of goal, and that deserves recognition. When he made poor decisions, he was criticized. Now that he is making the right choices and finishing with composure, he deserves praise. This is a version of Dembele that is ice-cold in front of goal, making the right decisions and being highly efficient, and that is something to celebrate. Paradoxically, though, I wouldn't even say this was his best performance in terms of overall play. Don't get me wrong, he wasn't bad in his dribbling or reading of the game, but he has played matches where he was more dazzling in terms of his general play. Yet, because he was so lethal in the final third, this performance will be remembered as one of his best, especially in the Champions League, alongside his display against Barcelona. So, once again, I say, sorry, Ousmane Dembele. I should never have been so definitive in my judgment of him. I have never been more wrong about a player, and I'm happy to admit it. Dembele is proving me wrong, and I couldn't be more delighted. How did PSG perform beyond Dembele? Alright, let's talk about someone other than Ousmane Dembele. I'm completely enamored with Désiré Doué. Doué started on the right for PSG instead of in the center, and that was an interesting decision. Given PSG's future plans with the imminent arrival of Kvaratskhelia from Napoli, it's likely that attackers will need to prove themselves on the right wing. Doué is beginning to find his rhythm, but I wouldn't say this was his best match. If you follow my channel, you know I have been a strong advocate for Doué, particularly after his performance against Manchester City, where I called out L'Équipe for unfairly criticizing his errors. However, even I must admit that in this match, his risk-taking didn't always pay off. It's not that he had a terrible game, he absolutely deserves a passing grade, but I found him slightly less convincing than in previous matches. His missed chance in the 30th minute was particularly frustrating, especially in contrast to Dembele's composed finish. Still, he had his moments, including a brilliant flick-on from a corner that led to Barcola's goal. Doué continues to grow, and it's evident that Luis Enrique rates him highly. Speaking of Barcola, he was outstanding. His speed and ability to exploit space were crucial in this match. Stuttgart struggled with his pace, and he took full advantage. Moving to midfield, if the match against Manchester City was Joe Neves' masterclass, then this one belonged to Vidinho, albeit in a more subtle way. Neves played well, as expected, pressing hard and maintaining technical precision. But Vidinho was the true conductor of PSG's game. He dictated the tempo, distributing over 10 progressive passes with 100% accuracy. He knew when to slow down play and when to accelerate, embodying the tactical philosophy of Luis Enrique. In many ways, Vidinho is the DNA of this PSG side. His performance might not have been as dazzling in the second half, but he was still excellent. As for the defense, I was initially worried about Lucas Hernandez, but he managed to avoid getting exposed in deep runs. However, I was less reassured by Marquinhos. While he didn't have a disastrous match, he struggled against physical forwards, something that has become increasingly evident with age. When Stuttgart introduced Demirovic, Marquinhos found himself in trouble. And this raises concerns for future matchups. If PSG faces a team like Manchester City with a striker like Erling Haaland, they'll rely on Beraldo to contain him. Beraldo did a good job against City last time, but if he's preoccupied with other threats, the responsibility could fall on Marquinhos. At 30 years old, he seems incapable of handling such physical duels. It has never been his strength, but his struggles in this area are becoming more pronounced. Overall, though, PSG executed their game plan well. Beyond Dembele's brilliance, the team displayed a cohesive and dynamic style of play. There's a lot to be excited about, especially with Kvaratskhelia joining soon. Stay tuned for what's next. What's next for PSG? The arrival of Kvaratskhelia will trigger a tactical domino effect across the squad. This will increase competition for places, particularly in the attacking positions, but it also provides tactical flexibility. Players like Barcola and Doué will have opportunities to rotate across different roles, making PSG less predictable and more adaptable in big matches. Tactically, PSG has stayed true to its philosophy under Luis Enrique: fluid movement, aggressive pressing, and intelligent positional play. One major concern, however, is midfield depth. While PSG's midfield has been excellent, Zaire Emery's injury scares a worrying sign. He has been a key player, And if he is sidelined for an extended period, it could create a significant problem for the team. Overall, this is a PSG team with identity, confidence, and momentum. It has addressed its inefficiency in the Champions League, and the squad is young, exciting, and full of potential. While inexperience might be an issue in some key moments, this team is one that fans can truly rally behind. So, what do you think? Is PSG on the right track? Will Dembele continue his incredible form? Let me know in the comments.